I'm one of these people when I get into something, like I get into it. I mean, I went hardcore. I even told my coach because we were training 6 days a week, and I said we need to start coming in on Sundays as well. I mean, I'm somebody who's really hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist. I'm too hard on myself, in many regards. I never missed a day of practice. Never, even if I was sick, I still went. I would never miss a day of practice. Didn't have a girlfriend, didn't go to any high school prom. Successful as gymnastics was for me, and as much as I got out of it, I did it at Hollywood film, television, commercial. I did it at museums. I mean, I did the Victoria's Secret fashion show with the models and stuff. Like it was a full blown career. But there's a piece of me that's like, but you didn't win the Olympics. And then once I retired, I didn't have anything to keep me disciplined, and I started drinking a lot, and my diet was terrible. I started just eating whatever I wanted, and a couple of years into that, I had this moment where I was like, this is gonna kill me. Like I'm basically like killing myself.
Cool, Stephen. I'm pumped to have the first Olympian on my podcast.
Oh, well,
welcome to the show.
happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know that you're an Olympic gymnast, that you're also a world champion silver medalist. I know that you're active in the fitness and wellness industry, like me. You help other people to get in shape, get fit, get healthy. I read that you speak at events, you educate people. I know that you're researching peptides and other cool things that help with longevity and just feel good, live longer, live better. Does that describe you well, or what else is there to know about you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, people when they ask me like, what do you do? And I struggle to answer the question, because I've had a lot of people, marketing people, like tell me you need to like niche down, like you should just be the peptide guy, or you should just be the stability guy, or you should be the workout guy, or whatever it is. And I just, the reason why I like all this stuff because I follow my curiosity. So for me to just isolate myself to one modality I just think I would be bored.
Yeah.
So I just, to me, I'm somebody who, you know, started out as a biohacker who was really interested in how the body works. Fitness was a backbone of mine because I had so many years of fitness. And then I really studied exercise physiology and kind of rounded that out. And that's sort of like the centerpiece of, and everything kind of goes around that because I think exercise is the biggest tool in the tool belt, in terms of like, if you had 90 days to change somebody's life and you had every single modality laid out on the table, the biggest thing that I'm going to be able to use to make you look, feel, and perform different, better would be exercise,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so I love exercise, but I don't really consider myself a trainer. I mean, I have trained teams of athletes and stuff like that, but I'm just really interested in, trying to stop aging, trying to break the record and what a human being can do in terms of like become like a 90-year-old guy that people think is 60 or something, and still has all of his faculties. I want to see if we can live longer than we ever thought possible. So I'm really interested in the science of aging and anti-aging, age reversal. I'm really interested in human optimization. And the more I do this, the more I move into more of a like clinical type approach as opposed to a biohacking approach. Do you know what I mean? So most of the time my conversations are with doctors and trying to understand and going to, different conferences, medical conferences, and really seeing what is moving the needle on a clinical level, and I'm really into some advanced stuff, and so I'm happy
I
to
think it's
share a
good
lot of
because
that.
you get some credibility, and it's not just like bro science that you put out there. Oh, this works, this doesn't, this is good. But when you have like a doctor on your side that help you, and you have like the conversations with them, you actually, well, it gets backed up by science and by those medicals, right?
Yeah. And I think that, I do think that a lot of people, that are learning all this great stuff by getting online, and they're starting like that. the bro people are getting more educated. They're moving up into where doctors are. And I think that, look, experience goes a long way.
100%.
There is a lot of, you can learn a lot by just someone who maybe isn't the most scientific, but they have 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades of experience of doing something. It's like, you don't know exactly how those zeros and ones work on your computer right now, but I bet you know how to use your computer. You might, because I think you were an IT guy, but like most people don't know,
Yeah.
how the underpinnings of their iPhone work. They don't understand the machine language, but
True.
yet they can use this
They can
thing
use it.
and use
Yeah.
it. So there's multiple ways to get this stuff done, but yeah. So I respect everybody's sort of approach for the most part.
Yeah. Cool. I actually want to go very back in time when he did gymnastics, like when he did professional gymnastics and even competed at the Olympics.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started doing gymnastics?
Well, I started doing gymnastics in the house. I I think I was very active as a kid. I was climbing the walls, and my mom realized that she should put me in some sport when I was swinging on the chandelier and it
Yeah.
pulled it out of the ceiling. And for me, like I was watching these Saturday morning karate movies, like kung fu movies, and those guys could do like impossible things, and so I just thought they were possible. So I started teaching myself how to like walk on my hands and do back handsprings in the grass. And I told my mom I could do a backflip, and she didn't believe me. So I took her outside and I started
Self-taught?
doing back,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I started doing back handsprings in the grass, and my mom was like, "What?" She couldn't believe it, and so she decided to put me in gymnastics. And I was like, "No," I started like crying. I'm like, "I don't want to do ballet. I want to be a kung fu. I want to be a karate man." And right as we had this conversation, the '84 men's Olympic team won the gold medal, the US team. And I was like, "Oh, that's what I want to do." And went to the gym, and from the very first day, it just clicked. And then, I was 10 years old when 9 or 10 when I formally started.
Okay.
And immediately I was, training, 6 days a week.
But
And I
that's
just,
relatively late, right? Because I can see
yeah,
kids starting
yeah,
at 5, 6.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
you were
It's
doing it
really,
at home basically, just self.
yeah, it was late, but I was really, I'm one of these people when I get into something, like I get into it. And I, I went hardcore. I even told my coach at one point, and I said, because we were training 6 days a week, and I said, we need to start coming in on Sundays as well. I don't know where I had this motivation, but
Crazy. Yeah.
yeah, it was nuts, like, and I had a lot of success very early, and just out trained everybody else,
Mm.
and I had talent. And by the time I was, you know, 12, I made the junior national team, and I never was off the national team from the junior national team all the way to the
Wow.
senior national team
Wow.
until I retired at
Wow.
30. So I was traveling internationally around maybe 13, 14, 15, like started going, and this was an amazing career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had no pressure from your parents or from your coach. It was actually coming from you. They said you want to work out actually more. You wanna...
Yeah, I'm somebody who's really hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist. It's one of the reasons why I don't have more social media content out there, is because I'm too hard on myself, in many regards. But
Where
my
do you think this
mom's
is coming from?
being judged for 20 years, like being judged. Like, I raise my hand, I'm going to do a routine and perform for you, and you're going to
Yeah.
judge me. That's
But
going
I
to
mean,
determine.
when you were 10 years old, this must come from somewhere. They say, "Oh, you want to train more often."
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I wouldn't say now I work that hard. I'm not. In the past, I was a workaholic. In gymnastics, I was a workaholic. I would say I'm not even remotely a workaholic now. I would, I don't even consider myself that I work hard, but when I get into something, I have a kind of like a bottomless pit. Like I can sit down and really like,
No.
I will, like just lock on until I have it figured out. So it's interesting, dynamic, just being that way with stuff. I used
Okay.
to call, when I was coaching gymnastics for a while, and these kids would come in. I was coaching girls, and the girl would be like, "Oh, because we had a special program for the elite for
Okay.
gymnasts. Those usually we decided if we thought you would be an elite because it requires an incredible amount of talent, raw talent, plus it requires a certain kind of person. And these the parents and their kid, it would come in and they're like, "Oh, I want to go elite," and I would talk to them and I'd be like, "Okay, well, do you like the idea? Like, well, what do you want to do? I want to go to the Olympics." Okay. Do you like the idea of going to the Olympics? Is that something that you would like to do, or is it something that you feel like you have to
Mhm.
do?
Mhm.
For me, I love the idea of being a rock star, and I used to play guitar, and I used to, like fantasize about being a rock star, but I didn't really do the work.
Yeah, you need
I
to have
just
an
liked,
obsession, yeah, to get there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, you start talking to them, and eventually, you realize you get them to notice that this isn't, as much as it's a gift, it's also a curse, because most of your career as an elite athlete is filled with mistakes and upsets and failures, and then eventually you learn how to overcome that and get to a world-class level, and then it's time to retire because you're getting too old. So
Yeah.
it's an odd career, you know what I mean? It's fascinating, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I was lucky. I was 10 years at the world-class level,
Mm.
but that's pretty rare for gymnastics.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of putting up with a lot, and I didn't realize the effect it had on me so much. As now my buddy, one of my buddies I talked to all the time, he was an Olympian. We were together on a team, and we both talk about like how much like that type of training and pushing ourselves like that, and like having to make that team, or else I don't even want to be alive. You know what I mean? Like that degree, like how it has affected us as human beings. And there's a documentary called The Weight of Gold, that has who's the swimmer? Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I think he spearheaded that documentary, and it really dives into this sort of
Wow.
some of the ramifications of pushing that hard, and I mean, I don't regret it for a second. I mean, I feel like I've always said I could get hit by a car tomorrow and I lived a great life because I like pushed so hard
Yeah.
and did so many
Yeah.
things that it was kind of like a whole complete life by
Mm.
the time I was 30.
We
you
we,
know?
we just watched a documentary on Netflix called Golden. It's like a relatively new one about female gymnasts in the United States. Maybe you've seen it, maybe not. But there you see like those young gymnasts, like I don't know, they're maybe 12 up to 18, and it's so tough. They're there and they don't want to work out. They're so tired. They're so sore, and now they have to go into practice again, and they don't have like social life really. It's just like all the time in the gym. How was it
Yeah.
in your situation? Like how many hours a day would you practice?
Well, you kind of train as many hours as humanly possible, and that turns out to be about 6, 7, maybe. I mean, you can't really go beyond that. I mean, like you have
How much
one
of that is skill? How much is like flexibility, and how much is strength?
Well, when I was like at the highest level, you would do two workouts. One would be in the morning, and it would be around 9 to 12:30. You would do maybe 15 minutes of warming up. You would do maybe 5 to 10 minutes of like pre sort of conditioning things to get the body like ready to go, like active dynamic type stuff,
Yeah.
So, and then you would train. It depends where you are in your season, because if you're in the off season, you're trying to learn
Yeah.
skills. So you're working on technique and drills, and you're like you're breaking a skill into pieces and you're trying to learn all the pieces and assimilate it into a skill. Then as you start getting close to season, you start cobbling these skills together into mini routines. And then when you're getting, the hardest part is getting in shape, you start trying to do full routines and you're just struggling through these routines. And it's literally, you just go, and you keep trying, you just push through these routines, you know? So you go from like 9 to 12:30, maybe, you know, it's not that long, 3.5 hours. And then you come in at 4 to about 6:30. So it would be about 6 hours, you know, 6 and it depends too. I was the last guy to leave. And then I came in a third time before the first workout because I was really kind of lanky and tall for a gymnast, believe it or not. And rings was my weakest event. And in order to be strong enough on that, I had to come in a third time and just work on like this upside down iron cross and some of the strength, the positions for rings. And it worked.
Did you do weights?
We kind of did some. I wish we would have done more weights, but we did some weights in the off season. You know, I've done a lot of weights since I've subsequently retired, you know, but you know, some people I think have done more of that now. But we would have some weights in the gym, but they had an amazing, I lived at the Olympic Training Center. They had amazing facility, amazing coaches. And I've seen guys, you know, especially the wrestling team, like they would do a lot of powerlifting and stuff, you know, so they got very, very strong and very powerful, you know.
I feel like it doesn't transfer like automatically. Like let's say you do like heavy overhead presses for your shoulders, you can go very heavy there and manage the weight to push up. That doesn't mean you can automatically do handstand push-ups, for example. So there's some, but yeah, I mean, handstand push-ups still requires the skill component.
Yeah, I call it dumb muscle versus smart muscle. And I don't mean this against anybody who's just lifting weights that it's dumb. I just mean that when you lift weights, it's so in a box, right? And then so you basically like, let me strengthen these 3 muscle groups, you know, and then primarily the shoulders when it's an overhead press. And then what's nice to do is maybe after 90 days of doing that, do like a month of body weight exercises, which really require you to kind of synergize that particular muscle group with the rest of your body. And I call it smartening the muscle, you know, and so it makes it more coordinated and makes it, I just think you get better coupling of all the muscles.
Absolutely. I sent you, maybe you remember on Instagram, I sent you a picture of my feet and you would see my socks and there would be like,
what was going on there?
Okay, you don't know? So
are you doing splits or something?
No, what I'm trying to do right now is the gymnastics flare, right? I'm trying to do flare and
really?
I'm trying to do all the in the beginning it was so tough. I started maybe 2 months ago and I realized, oh, I mean, I can lift pretty heavy weight, but now this movement requires a lot of shoulder mobility and hip mobility, and I'm working so much on those on just mobility. But I would try it on the ground where it's a bit slippery, so you know it helps. Obviously, you just don't stop basically. And every time, like in 1 week, I think I use like 5 pair of socks, just like all of them smashed. But yeah, it's a super cool skill actually. I didn't tell you like when I was in Santa Monica, so that's like I don't know 10 years ago or so. I had the goal of doing the iron cross, right? And I don't have a gymnastics background. I'm just like a gym enthusiast. And then I would meet all like the Cirque du Soleil artists and like, you know, gymnasts were there and they taught me, or I kind of taught myself how to do the iron cross, and I was so proud of myself. That's pretty amazing.
Wow, you learned an iron cross?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I cannot do it anymore because like it's so heavy on the tendons and on the joints. But
that's impressive. I mean, that's I don't, you know, I've not met very many non-gymnasts that have been able to hold an iron cross, you know.
Yeah, it required me almost like a pro, like probably 4 hours a day, just practice at the beach and then, and then go to the gym, Mecca, bodybuilding, like a workout there as well. Yeah,
that's awesome. Good for you, man.
How did your diet look like back then? Did you have a specific diet?
I mean, I've always been intrigued by diets. I think I've read everything book on diet, and I have a nutrition certification now. But back then, I didn't. I wish I would. There's so much I wish I knew back then that I didn't know now. I mean, we didn't even have a foam roller back then. A foam roller. We weren't even using.
But
So.
nowadays you will probably find it, right? In like the
Oh
gymnastics
yeah,
gym.
I mean I
Yeah.
can't. I mean I have a whole mobility, like the 5 inch ball. Like I have like I won't get on an airplane without that 5 inch ball for
Mm,
sure. But I mean we always ate pretty well, but I don't think the quality of the food, because eating at the Olympic Training Center, while they do a good job feeding you, it's not like the food is organic. It's not like the meats aren't laden with antibiotics and things like that. So I don't think the quality of food was great, but you train so much that you always look like, I mean, it's negligible in terms of like, you don't have to worry about, at least I never did, calories or anything like that.
yeah.
You just have to make sure you're getting enough protein, and then, but there's so many ways I would have done things different. I mean, what I
Mm,
know with supplementation and nutrition now, like I really like, I mean, I was probably vitamin D deficient most of the time. I mean, I wasn't getting magnesium. I was probably magnesium deficient. I was probably omega-3 deficient. Like, would have been, I remember one time I took these supplements that were like, um, someone got me on this program. I think a lot of football players were doing it, and I was like, oh yeah. And I remember I got so strong, and like I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, my body's responding so well to these like smoothies or whatever. That was like they had a bunch of vitamins and stuff in it. It was probably the first time my body was actually getting enough nutrients. There's no way I was getting
okay.
enough nutrients
Mm,
from the food
mm,
I was eating. No
mm,
way.
mm. Okay. I think
Yeah.
also if you like train for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, you don't even have the possibility to eat like huge meals because okay, like in an hour I'm going to have practice again, so there's not even a chance to overeat almost.
Yeah,
Besides
yeah.
burning so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely have to have some breakfast, and then you have to have some, like you just learn to deal with training with food in you, and then when you get done, immediately you have lunch, and then you just rest, and then for the second thing, you maybe have getting closer practice, like a snack, and maybe like a coffee, and then or like a small meal, and then you'd have dinner after the second practice. So I think for me, it's always been well, now as I've gotten older, the way I eat is more like two meals, a smoothie, and a snack. That's pretty much almost what I eat daily, but back then it was more like 3 meals and a
No,
snack,
no.
you know. Yeah.
Do you think if you had the knowledge of today, you would have been a better athlete? Like with
Oh,
like supplements? Yeah.
for sure. Like I just feel like, I mean, it's even mentally, I mean, there was a point where I feel like I mastered it mentally, finally, it took a while, but physically, I mean, a lot of stuff I couldn't use. Like I couldn't use peptides. I couldn't use exosomes. I couldn't use stem cells. These are all things I've done. Um, I mean, maybe I could use, I don't know, but those things are on the ban list. I
Mm,
couldn't use any sort of hormone types, stuff. So it just would have been more nutrition based, and then taking care of my body in terms of structurally,
no,
those two things alone, I could make some
no,
pretty
for
significant
sure.
changes
For
and
sure.
I think also just maybe even better, like sleep, like a really understanding better how to like, sleep, dealing with jet lag a lot better, like traveling better, definitely traveling with meals better, sometimes you go to these countries and you're just like, we had, world championships in China and you're like, what are we eating here? Like, what are we eating?
But
And they were, the team was going to McDonald's every, it was ridiculous,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
How would you describe the feeling of making it to the Olympics?
I mean, it's a big relief because there's just so much sacrifice put into it. I mean, I never, before I went to college, I never, from the time I was 10 years old to the time I went to college, I never missed a day of practice. Never, even if I was sick, I still went. Like, you can call my coach up and ask him, and I would never miss a day of practice. Didn't have a girlfriend, didn't go to any high school prom, no dances, no nothing. I took homeschooling my senior year so I could train 3 times a day to get a full ride scholarship to where I wanted to go. And so I didn't go to my high school graduation. And then I got to college, and by the time my freshman year, I was already a rock star. Like, I started competing NCAA wise for UCLA, and I was like a stud. I made the junior national team, and I started traveling internationally. I made a world championship team, and I was won an NCAA championship. And very quickly, I became my life changed in those regards. Like, I had opportunities that I had never had in terms socially, let's say. And then, missed 96 Olympics when I should have made that team. I was borderline suicidal after that because I was so depressed after it, and pulled myself together and came back and really got honest with myself and said, you can't, you don't sacrifice and then you're entitled to success. You're not entitled to success because you were the one who came in the gym every day when no one else did. You're not entitled to success because you didn't do this. You're not entitled to success for any sacrifice you've ever made. You have to learn how to make it. You have to learn how to stand there in the pressure with the TV cameras on you, and you have to learn how to knock down a perfect routine time and time again. And so you have to figure out, why is it that I can't do that? It isn't because I'm supposed to, because I sacrificed. No, that's not the way life works. You have to have the craft. You have to have the ability. And so you have to get brutally honest with yourself. And so I did everything I possibly could, hypnotherapy, all sorts of stuff. And the next time I was like, there's no way I'm leaving this to luck. It would be impossible for me not to make the team. And I made it, and so in many ways it was an amazing awakening for me as a person, to believe to really learn how to like have a goal that's pretty high and make it, especially after falling on my face trying it. It was a huge relief. It was also amazing because, a lot of gymnasts that pursued it like I did that didn't make an Olympic team. You want to make an Olympic team if you're a gymnast and you give up everything, because if not, these guys usually have chips on their shoulder for the rest of their life. They're kind of like always thinking about, what could I have done? What could I, and there's sort of 3 levels. There's like, I was the gymnast, I didn't make it. I made it to the Olympics, and then I won the Olympics, or I won a Olympic medal, but winning is the ultimate. That's what we all tried to do. And so I mean, the weird thing about it is successful as gymnastics was for me, and as much as I got out of it, I've competed on every continent except for Antarctica. And I mean, I did it Hollywood film, television, commercial. I did it in museums. I mean, I did the Victoria's Secret's fashion show with the models and stuff. Like it was a full-blown career. But there's a piece of me that's like, but you didn't win the Olympics, you know what I mean? So there's still like an FU built in there, that just, it's like, that's annoying.
What you're saying is so right. Like, you can be actually the best at practice and be the hardest working person in the room all the time, but when it comes to actually showing your performance and you're not used, or you're camera shy or whatever it is, and you mess it up, then who cares how good you were in practice, right?
Exactly. And that's what separates the sort of the men from the boys, so to speak. It's just, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself, you know, like you have to know yourself and your tendencies, and you have to know where you can fall on your face, and you have to have a
Mm,
plan for that. You
mm,
can't leave anything to chance, because you can lose it that fast. Like you can just deer in the headlight, and next thing you know, you're not ready, and you go and you fall, and then that's it. All of that was for what? What was all that sacrifice
mm,
for?
mm.
You
But
know?
from all the things you just said, like Victoria's Secrets show, whatever, like television and blah blah blah. For me, like going to the Olympics, even as a non-athlete, is still the highest achievement, and I have so
Yeah.
much respect for you, because I know the level of effort and dedication required to get there is from another level, honestly, like from another
Yeah.
planet. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's even I look back at it and I'm like, my God, I I think you have to have some genetics for your sport. Like if you want to go to the highest level, you like I would never be, no matter how hard I would have wanted it, I've never would have been an NBA
Yeah.
basketball player, no matter what, right? So I had the genetics for gymnastics, but you have to work. What was the point I was trying to make? I think you have to work so hard at it that it's almost like it isn't something that it it's beyond I just want to do this. It's like I have
You have
to.
to.
Like it has to get to that level,
Mm,
otherwise somebody else will beat you. Somebody
mm.
else will have done that difficult work to shine in the moment when you couldn't, and there's times even when you think you're on it. And like I remember one time I was in the gym and we had these you saw a parallel bar routine of mine. You do these things where you double backs between the bars and you
Yep.
catch on your arms, and
Yep.
we would just you never in the training you'd always train it with pads, so somebody would slide
Yep.
pads for you. In the competition you didn't use pads, obviously, and so because you would just scrape up your arms, I remember one of my buddies, he had these in his routine at the Olympic Training Center. He gets up there and he just starts doing it without the pads, and I was like, no pads today, huh? And he goes, there is no comfort zone. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I've gotten comfortable.
Mm,
I've been
mm,
using these pads, and
mm,
I stopped using them. And I was like, that's it. He's right.
mm.
So one of the coolest aspects is when you are training, everyone at the Olympic Training Center gets pulled from around the country, to this place, and they're all there for the same thing. And so your teammates on an everyday basis are pushing you so hard. I mean, it's like, the last around 2000 was like a dream team in the US training at the Olympic Training Center. So it's amazing to be in that sort of, imagine, like, people going to the office, working a job, or going to whatever
Yeah.
their vocation is, and like the best 10 people are there in the
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah. Yeah, I know where we're going with this, and I always like tell people if you want to get fit, become healthier, then try to surround yourself with people. Because for me, it was never that extreme. Like in Santa Monica, for example, it was so crazy that my like again like the Cirque du Soleil artists and whatnot, they wouldn't go and get like McDonald's. They would go there to this specific restaurant where you can get the healthy salad and whatnot, and everyone is working out, and you would see like people on Gold's Gym, and like automatically you want to become better, and you want to like keep up, right? And this is very, very
Yeah.
inspiring. I think that's very, very true, that if you want to change, try to change your environment, and you will eventually change too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the hard part I have with being an online independent
Right.
sort of person, because it's like it's so, like, that's why I love going to, speaking at conferences, and I love public speaking. It's the one thing that makes me feel like a performer again, and I like doing things, in a social group, but sometimes just when it's just me and a computer, I'm like, and a camera, I'm like, really? Is
Mm,
this? I mean, I do appreciate the freedom, and like I never did well in an office when I tried to like work a job. I just was like, I'm not cut out for this. But I'm still trying to navigate like what is the most appropriate way for me to help people and create
Yeah, get
content,
it.
do
Get
things
it.
without losing my mind,
Yeah, I get this. Like here in Thailand, I told you this earlier, and gyms are always empty. In the beginning, I was like, so cool. I can film, I can record, I can do whatever. I can bring my daughter, my family.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, I'm like, okay, now I kind of miss like where are the hardworking guys, where are the someone I can look up to and get some advice or a training partner. So this shifts as well, and like online business thing as well. Like I'm having like several masterminds and group of people that do the same thing, and otherwise, like you're very lonely. It is a lonely path, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out. I mean, that's why I love going to these events and these, I get invited to a lot of them now, and I like it, and that's where kind of like all the weirdos like me are there that are just like totally into this like health stuff, and but sometimes it can be like, my God, like I always, you know, I I have this thing in my head. Imagine Michael Jordan. I don't know how old your listeners are. For Michael Jordan, like best
Didn't
basketball
know that.
player of
Yeah,
all
yeah.
time.
Didn't know that.
Imagine him never playing people really until it was time to. He just was in a big 1 bedroom apartment, just training by like just doing basketball. Like you have to work off of people, and so for me, it is the biggest challenge I have. Like I feel like I understand tech. I'm super comfortable speaking on film. I understand how to do content and all that, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, like it's just boring to me. you know, but I'll figure out, it comes in waves, I think
Yeah,
I'm kind of
for sure.
dealing with that right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So you said earlier you retired at age 30-ish.
30. By the time we did all these like post-Olympic shows and tours around the country. So by the time I was fully retired, I was 31.
Okay. How did you go from practicing 6, 7 hours a day to now just staying fit, trying to keep the shape?
Well, I wasn't always trying to stay fit. I mean, I ended up, when I retired, it was a massive rug pull on my lifestyle and my discipline. So, and also by the end of my career, I was hanging out with like the best gymnasts, the Russian gymnasts who won the Olympics, and like drinking with them, and you start kind of living a little bit like a rock star, and then once I retired, I didn't have anything to keep me disciplined, and I started drinking a lot, and my diet was terrible. I started just eating whatever I wanted, and a couple of years into that, I had this moment where I was like, this is gonna kill me. Like I'm basically like killing myself. I'm drinking myself to death. And I didn't realize how much the alcohol was covering up sort of the loss of something that I loved, an identity. It was like dealing with a family member dying. I was like had to like kill off this, and I basically said, this is no way to live, and I want to feel like I did when I was an athlete. I felt like a superhero most of the time. So I quit drinking. And I've never touched alcohol since. It's been 14 years, and I started diving into health, and right around that was when like the whole biohacking movement
Yeah.
started, and I had a friend who was she was going through like Lyme disease, and so she was doing all like infrared saunas, intravenous vitamins, like doing all this like really advanced stuff, red light back then, 14 years ago. And so she said, look, everyone waits till they get cancer or
Mm,
something, and then they start
mm.
doing the stuff I'm doing. Everyone should be doing this now. So I said, I'm in. So I started that around, my mid 30s, and I just never looked back. I just kept going and going and going and going and
Do you
going
think
with it.
it's like a passion you developed again, or was it more like a new goal? Because I imagine as an athlete, you want to go to the Olympics, you want to win, and you have like this clear goal in mind. And then when you're retired, it's like, oh, now what? Right? You always need a new goal, need
Yeah.
objective. Like,
Yeah. I think what it is the way there like there's this connection with myself when I trained in the gym as a gymnast. Like when you spend hours of training for decades, you have this relationship with yourself in, in this sort of like, I'm doing something. It becomes like your craft. It's like I'm building a wooden house, and it's like it becomes your meditation, it becomes your work. And so for me, the work I like to do is that kind of work where I'm connecting with myself, and so the idea of, still working out, trying supplements, researching, like, injecting myself with exosomes or whatever it is, like trying all these things, like, and doing all these things and testing my physiology, and it is like, in a way, makes me feel like I did when I was a gymnast. It's like you know what I mean? It's like my meditation, it's my work, it's how I connect with myself.
And you have some metrics where you get better, or again, you were deficient in something. Oh, no, it's better.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly.
optimizing.
Like, yeah, one of the big things I uncovered, I was doing the ketogenic diet a long time ago, like 2013, 14. And I did a blood test, and I had, like, my cholesterol was terrible. And it's like, a lot of people, it's hard to talk about cholesterol because a lot of people don't really know, like, how to read a cholesterol panel. They just think good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. But really, take the bad cholesterol, or quote unquote bad, and you look at not just the total number, but you look at how many particles make up that number, and how many, not only how many, but what size are they? Are they tiny? The smaller they are, the more they can kind of find their way into the lining of the arteries and cause, start of plaque. And so I had a very high amount of numbers of particles and a very small particles. And I also had some inflammation markers that were showing that I was probably getting inflammation, which was leading to plaque. I did a carotid artery scan, showed that I had some plaque in my arteries. Now, I had boozed a lot. I'd even smoked cigarettes. So it's understandable that I maybe would have had some lingering, but the fact that I was trying to eat some particular diet to be more healthy, and the numbers were being exacerbated, the issue was being exacerbated by that really got me to take a deep dive on nutrition and really start testing and changing my diet. And now my numbers look great, so now everything's in the green, but that's something that I always track. And I'm like, that's the thing that was going to kill me first. And I always tell people, like, look, if you can live to be 120, and all your organ systems can live that long, but you have this one thing that you don't manage, that's in your family history, and you just kind of like, yeah, like, I have this doctor, my doctor kind of puts me on this one. No. You need to know that as well as your doctor. And you need to find a doctor that knows it really well.
No.
Like, it is hard for me to find a doctor that I can talk to with my cholesterol, because most of them aren't up to speed on it, because that's the thing that's going to kill you. So you need to learn that, like, your life depends on it. Like, this notion of, like, oh, let me do this anti-aging thing here, or let me do this longevity thing here, but really, you're not going after this thing that's definitely going to kill you, first. It doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? So kind of, that's the game to me, is like strategizing this thing, like, how to sort of, it's like a game, like a chess game. It's almost like a sport, like trying to figure out how to go about doing this that puts you winning. And winning is really, in my opinion, staying alive and being healthy and having your full faculties,
Yeah. I think staying alive and having good quality of life, right? I think there's
exactly,
like lifespan and health span. Did you read the book?
Yep.
What is it called? What is it?
David
Shout out
Sinclair.
to no, this one is also a good one, but
Outlive.
Outlive, yeah, Outlive.
Yeah, I love
listen
that
to
book.
this one, is a really good one.
Yeah. He's really good with cholesterol stuff. Peter Attia is like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How does your diet look like right now? Like, if I ask you to write down what you ate yesterday, how would that look like? Or today? It's evening, right?
Yeah. So it would be I wake up. I usually have because I do work out in the morning, so I will have a smoothie for breakfast that will consist of 30 grams of whey, 10 grams of hydrolyzed collagen, so 40 grams um, of protein. I will sometimes I might just roll with that and the almond milk and some ice. If I'm going to work out, I'll add a little bit of energy. I'll do like a third cup of blueberries and some walnut butter. And I like walnut because it's more of an omega-3. That's usually breakfast. It will include some creatine, a bunch of supplements, and then after workout will usually be some sort of equivalent of like a lunch slash breakfast or something. I don't know, like afterwards, because I'm usually hungry after that, like a lunch. That will usually be something like an avocado toast, 3 eggs, piece of responsible toast and avocado, or maybe a salad with 3 eggs in it, like a bunch of vegetables and 3 eggs. And then a snack in the day, which will usually be like some sort of maybe like high protein snack. It can be a yogurt with some other stuff. It could be even more like nuts in there, and then dinner, which would be more like maybe a piece of fish, because I'm leaning more Mediterranean, just because of the cholesterol thing, or it could be lean breast of chicken. I don't eat a whole lot of red meat that often. I just try to limit my saturated fat. I let myself have to have eggs though, but some sort of chicken and vegetables and starch. Could be rice and vegetables and a piece of fish. So it's essentially it's smoothie, 3 eggs with some carbs, and fat, and then a high protein snack, and then a Mediterranean type, some sort of protein, fat, and carb dinner, and then here and there, depending on if I'm really in like some sort of bulking phase, everything will kind of come up. Like, so I will usually do more. It'll just the meal, the amount of food will get bigger. If I am leaning out a little bit, I will cut some of the stuff and just lean on protein, and I might even just forget the protein shake in the morning and just have essential aminos.
Okay, what did you cut most out of the like protein, fats, and carbs? What did you reduce the most?
Never cut protein. Like I would say if it's around training, then I would most likely you need protein and carbs. If it's not around training, then you need protein and fat, right? So it's always a little bit of like doing like an accounting system in my head.
I do exactly the same. I'm not counting calories, but I too have like the structure. Okay, I have 3 main meals, and then I put, okay, here's protein, here's a snack, high protein snack. And I do the same with clients, and it works perfectly fine. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I like to play with carbs the most, obviously, if I'm like trying to really like bulk up, if you want to call it this way, then a bit more carbs, otherwise a bit lower, and that's it. It's not rocket science, actually.
Totally. Yeah. And once you figure it out and you've done it for years, you realize, wow, this is made to be so much more difficult than it really is. It's actually just eat. And then I always like to tell people, eat 85% whole foods. So, and people are like, well, what's 85? So however many meals you eat in a day, that's how many cheat meals you get in a week. That turns out to be 85%. So if you eat 2 meals a day, then you get 2 cheat meals a week. That would mean like literally let yourself have a freaking pizza if that's what you want. Like live your life.
So funny. I do exactly the same. Yeah, I tell them, don't think about like proteins and like when you have this pizza, just enjoy it. Have a dessert, whatever. Obviously not every day, but as you say, like once, twice, no problem, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you end up being miserable. And I tried to be perfect at one point, and I was like, I'm miserable. Like this is not fun anymore. And so I said, okay, like I do all this so that I can have that
Mm.
thing. And then like when it comes to like sometimes you get addicted to the sugar. Like sugar's very addictive. So like every now and then, like I remember one time when I was like really, really on it with my diet. It was Christmas morning and we were going somewhere and I said, you know what? I'm going to have a donut this morning. I was like, I'm going to have a Christmas donut. I ate a Christmas donut and for the rest of the day I was pounding chocolates. These chocolates and like
I know.
and
It's
it
crazy. It's
it's like
crazy.
opioid. It's
Yeah.
like an opioid.
Yeah.
So
It is.
so
It is.
yeah. And so you like I always tell people like try to if you're gonna eat a cookie or something like try to crowd it after the end of a meal. Like try to crowd it in with the whole meal. Don't ever just eat like cookies in
It's
isolation. You know what I mean?
yeah. I have problems with this as well. If I have something sweet, then I crave it for at least 24 hours. After
Yeah.
that, when I'm passing one day, then it's okay. I don't need it. I don't think of it. But the next few hours, it's crazy. I just want more and more and more. Like it's
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah, and it's harder to fast when you're not detoxed from sugar. If you're totally detoxed from sugar, I can at least for me, I can go a long period without even though I'm really kind of thin as a person.
Mm.
But if you're addicted to sugar, you're just like, no way. You start getting hangry and irritable and so
Mm.
I think the 85% whole foods and then just find a meal template that puts you in the pocket. I do if there's one macro I think worth counting, I think it's protein.
Protein. Yeah.
I really do. And then I think with the carbs, like you really just don't eat garbage. Like you need carbs. Just
Mm.
watch your garbage, like muffins or cereal or like
Carb
yeah,
Yeah, I
chocolate,
like that. Uh,
Yeah.
how when we go to the entire exercise part away from diet and nutrition, I mean, you're 49, right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
like six-pack abs, you have some photos and Instagram on your website, phenomenal, top shape, really. Um, how do you do that? Besides like the diet part, obviously, how when we focus on training, like how does a typical training week look like?
Well, I mean, I think how I do that, like the most important thing is consistency.
Hmm.
It really, I always tell people, do never go 5 days in a row without exercising. If you go 5 days in a row, you will not want to work out anymore.
Hmm.
You'll lose all your momentum.
Yep.
People are like, oh, I'm traveling. It doesn't
Yep.
matter.
Yep.
Never, ever, ever go 5 days in a row without working out.
Uh,
It's just
uh,
for life,
yep.
for life.
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
This
So
is the
I
same. This the same. I tell my clients, if you go on vacation, do some exercise. Try to keep the routine up, because if you don't, if you're lazy for 2 weeks, then you come back and you will not start. It's like so difficult to get back track.
it's so tough. I mean, I have trained elite athletes, and you give them a couple of extra days off, like on a holiday, which you never should for an elite athlete, and they come in and they're just dragging. These are like amazing, athletes. It's no one is immune to that.
Yep.
Nobody. And it's so much easier to stay in. The key to staying in shape is for life is to never get out of shape. So it's kind of like with the stuff we're saying with the diet. Like it's not that hard if you just stay consistent. Eventually, I always tell people too, like you're like niggling over the specifics. And yes, the specifics are very important, but really what's most important is that you're consistent, because if you are consistent, eventually you will figure it out.
Yep.
Like you're always pruning and pruning and pruning,
Yep.
and eventually you will revise your training program to
Yep.
be something that works for you. So I do like lifting weights. I do think that everyone should know how to lift weights.
How many
I think
days a
that
week?
3 days a week.
Okay.
So, and it's usually for me a push pull legs. So push one day, pull one
No.
day, legs one day. And then the days in between will be some low level cardio. And, I try to do one time a week, some sort of high intensity, intervals.
No. No.
But the strength training is usually big lifts for the day, which are going to be strength oriented. And then as soon as those 2 lifts are done, I like the 6 to 10 range. I usually like the 6 to 8, really. That's the rep range I like, 6 to 8. I feel like for me, it's just enough on the strength and it's just enough on the hypertrophy.
Good mixture, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, sweet spot. I do those 2 lifts, and then I move more into like a faster paced sort of, because those I'm literally waiting 3 minutes between each set. I want to give 100% to each one, right? And then when I'm done with those, I switch to a more faster pace, which would be trying to get a little bit more like just working the muscles in different ways, from endurance, hypertrophy, accessory work. Sometimes I'll just be spontaneous. Sometimes I'll be like really regimented, filling in the gaps, where my weaknesses are. And that I'll start that training by doing a full-blown stretch. I've done the same stretch routine I've done since I was a gymnast. So for 30 years, I've used the same head-to-toe stretch routine. I do it before every time I work out.
Do you have a video somewhere that I can watch? Or
yeah, if you download the Ultimate Fitness Guide, which I need to update it, it's getting a little old, but it's still relevant.
So that's the one on your website where you can like enter your email, then download, right? Okay.
Yeah. So on the homepage, there's a thing for like the ultimate, guide to fitness, whatever. If you click on that, you can just watch it, but you can also download it to have a copy of it as an ebook. But there is a video in the stability section that you can just click. And I always tell people, just play that at home and do that entire stretch routine with it and modify it however you need to modify it. And then that's the long version, and then create a simple short version, which gets your shoulders, your upper torso, your midsection, your knees, your ankles. So like your lower back, your shoulders, like create like a 3-minute stretch out version so that when you're on a vacation or you're pressed for time, you have something to just, move the body. But that might include rolling out a little bit. I don't try to over roll out because I don't want to dumb down the neurons that are going to be, I'm going to be trying to get strength out of. But some of the connection points, some of the areas that might have adhesions are really tight that need to be loosened so that I have better force coupling and better mechanics and stability. I will hit that after my stretch routine is giving me feedback. Where is it? Where am I? Sometimes I will do some activation if I need to before I do my big lifts. Could be the getting the rear delts, all the rotator cuffs. Could be the glute medis for any sort of squatting. And then on my cardio days is where I just have a bike outside. It's like a Concept 2 bike. And it has like a desk on it. So I'll just ride with that. And then I've got one of those lactate meters where I prick my finger, make sure I stayed under, a certain threshold so that I stay in like a zone 2. I'm trying to build my aerobic base. I find cardio to be incredibly boring. If I'm listening to music while I'm doing cardio, if the song gets going and I like it, I want to go faster, so I have this machine that's like, an oxygen compressor. I have it listed in that ultimate guide too. It's amazing. But essentially, there's an oxygen compressor, and it fills two bit there's a huge bag that's hanging. The top bag is hyper oxygen, 4 times the amount of oxygen than the room. The lower bag is hypoxic air, which is like being at 20,000 feet. So you dial in the altitude you want. You ride at hypoxic. You're riding. Eventually, you can't take it anymore. Like you got to come up for breath. So you flip the switch and you breathe 3 breaths of the hyper oxygen, and then you go back. So, have you ever done anything like this? It's
not
phenomenal.
Really. Like I have a few semi-athletes that do that kind of training. Me personally, I never had the chance really, to be honest. But
it's legalized blood doping. So I have athletes do it as a way to legally blood dope. And so you're forcing your body to essentially upregulate its oxygen utilization, right? So kick out more red blood cells, like open up the portal vein to the brain, like all enzymatically, like do everything we need to utilize oxygen. And then at the end of that protocol, after you've done that for about 10, 15 minutes, you just switch to hyperoxygen and you just sprint as fast as you can.
Makes
And
sense.
you literally break the laws of the human energy system. So, like you have three energy systems, right? You have your creatine phosphate, which is like 0 to 10 seconds. You have your, glycogen, which is, 10 seconds to a minute. And then beyond that is your oxidative phosphorylation, which is fat. So really you can't sprint that long full blast before your body just craters because it can't make enough ATP burning glycogen or using the enzyme, creatine enzyme. So with this, it breaks the law. You will literally be sprinting and you're like, I can't believe it. Like you can keep going. And the first couple of times I used this machine, when I got done, I just started bawling. Like I was just crying and purging all these emotions. I don't know why. Like it's very interesting. So
if you have a client or if you work with clients, then you take them to your home where you have to set up, or how do you
I
do that?
used to do that. Like I just don't take clients anymore because
Okay.
I find they're more hassle in real life than they are. it's so like I would take I would take a client. They have to be the right person. I'm not here to I just can't be somebody who is coming and they're kind of kicking the tires and they're just going through the motion and I'm just paying them. Like they're paying to feel like they have somebody helping them. No, I have to work with somebody.
I feel like you need the very dedicated ones that don't have like high goals, high performers, and
or is just high creativity and interest. They're just like, wow, I really want to try this. I want to learn it. They're just intrigued, enough. I do usually help more people that are like have issues, that need to help be fixed. I have a lot of compassion for the injured athlete. I also have for athletes that, maybe, need special things. And I'll be like, okay, you should look into this. But my heart's bigger for people that need help, not for a job to help to just get somebody in shape that maybe they're half committed to getting into shape. It's, what I saw, and look, I'm not comparing myself to someone like this at all because I'm not a Michael Jordan, but I saw this video of Michael Jordan again. He was like, they were asking him like, why don't you coach? Why didn't you get more into coaching? And he's like, because it would be unfair to the athlete for me to coach them because the level I would hold them to
I saw that.
may not be what they want, and I was like, yes, that's exactly it, and I'm not on that level, but in some regard,
That's the mindset.
I just, so I know guys that have owned gyms and they sold all of them because they were like, man, back in the day, like in Miami Beach and all that stuff, they were like, it was amazing. People wanted to be in shape. He's like, then the society changed or something happened. And he goes,
most have to, right? And it's like, oh, going to the gym. Oh, what again?
yeah,
no strength. Oh, yeah.
And what I tell people? I say, look, if you have to have someone tell you what to do, nobody likes being told what to do. Like, take anything you do and imagine someone going, hey, pick up that box, take it over there. Like, even if you were doing it, like you were going to, but somebody was just looking at me, pick up that box, take it over there. Now I want you to do this. Now go over there, pick up that thing. And now I want you to do this. You would start hating it. You don't want people to tell you what to do. Right. So if you cannot learn to exercise on your own, it doesn't mean that you don't buy a program from you and have you coaching them, like they call you up and say, here's how it's going, and I'm hitting this wall with this, and you're directing them. But if you can't be self-motivated enough to go to the gym on your own,
agreed,
then you'll never be consistent and you'll never reach those levels where you love it because you're always being told. I dread going and doing someone else's workout. I won't want to do someone else's workout because I'm like, I don't. most people, they think of exercise as something where they're killing themselves. Exercise is like climbing going from here to here, and there's stairs. And the only way you can get there is to literally walk up each step, and then walk up each step, and then walk up each step. Most people think it's about killing yourself. I gotta go so hard. I gotta be. No. All you gotta do is just stimulate enough of an adaptation that you move up one step.
It's not
And then
the more pain the better. No. It's not that.
No, and the next time, just good technique, match your strength plus a little bit more, just a little bit. Push that, adapt.
But I'm 100% with you. Like, it requires both. Someone needs to be self-disciplined, needs to have the will, needs to be willing to change. And then the other side is, here are the plans. Here is how you get results. Here's what you can do. And then you have the coach, and you have like the person who wants to do things, right? If you have someone who, would be nice to get in shape, and having this coach there, but maybe this coach can work out for me or eat for me. It doesn't work. Like, people
Never
sometimes,
work.
I don't know what's going on in their mind sometimes, but it needs both. It needs both. You have like the plan, and then you have like the coach that shows you how to do things or gives you a game plan, and then the will. You need to have it, and nobody else, no one can give it to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's you just got to get into it, and it's such an amazing gift to be able. I always tell people, look, if you have 4 working limbs and you can get up and walk, and you have your full faculties in life, man, if you're not working out, you are missing out on the greatest way to stay young. Like, literally, if you look at all the pathways of aging and you look at exercise positively affects every single pathway of aging. It turns on everything you want on, and it turns down everything you want down. And the more you get in shape, the more you're actually able to work those pathways. So, when I just was at this anti-aging conference, and people were like, I'm learning a lot of stuff here, but I look at you and I'm like, what are you doing? Because you're the only one that seems like this stuff is working. And I'm like, I've been working out for 4 decades. Like, exercise is anti-aging. It really is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just think people, they miss out on it because they just never learn to be self-motivated.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. But it's, I think it's with everything. It's with fitness and health. Building a business is the same. Nobody will build it for you. Like, you need to put in the work, and you need to have this work ethic. And oftentimes, like in your case, it goes hand in hand. You probably build discipline in sports and gymnastics, and then you take it to other areas of life, and it's working there as well.
Yeah. And hopefully, you still have the carryover, because sometimes, like, the discipline just doesn't carry over, because you're just like, I don't have, I've had certain jobs where I'm like, I don't care about this at all. Like, for me, like, if I don't care about it, it's really hard for me to do something, commit to it. Yeah.
Stephen, like, we are already like 70 minutes into the podcast here, but one thing I still want to address here, and that's peptides, because I'm seeing it on your Instagram, I'm seeing it on your website. And personally, I know very little. I listened to some podcasts, I did a little bit of research, but for someone who has no idea what peptides are, can you explain it in very simple language?
Yeah, so peptides are basically strings of amino acids. So if you look at protein is made up of amino acids, and then certain strings of amino acids come together in bonds called peptides. So they're specific sequences of amino acids. That sequence in the body, you have 7,000 that we know of peptides in the body. So they're endogenous to us. They're not something we've made up externally, like a pharmaceutical drug. So when you take a peptide, or when the body sees a peptide, that particular string of amino acids is a lock and key for a cellular pathway to turn on a cellular pathway. You can turn on cellular pathways for, immunity, for anti-aging, for brain, for hormones, for healing, for I mean, it's amazing. And the way they work is they're almost like adaptogens for your body. So if your body needs to, let's say you have a thyroid problem that you have that's going on, and so your thyroid needs more of this and less of that to come back into homeostasis. So they're, in a way, they help um, the cell, which has the already pre-programmed, every cell knows how to take care of itself. It knows how to heal. We don't need people to go in there and cut it and take it out. The body knows how to heal. You just have to give it the right components. And so peptides have this amazing ability to bring the cell back into homeostasis,
But
which
can I stop you there? Does that mean,
yeah.
since you already have them, that you can be deficient of something?
Yes, because as you age, we stop making less of everything. So you can start supplementing these, but also as you enter into diseased states, or the body is shifting, like, there'll be an issue that a peptide can help restore balance. And so you basically, because everything is affecting something else, so they're just incredible. I mean, I've used them for 10 years.
But you can also check like the levels. Is it possible? Or how do you, like, let's say I have an injury, like a joint pain, whatever it is, and I was saying, oh, there's this peptide that can help. Do I need to like go to the doctor and see first, oh, maybe I already have enough of this specific peptide in me?
No, because when you are injured, you want to upregulate that particular pathway. You want to basically say, I want to aid this and give it, because the way that kind of a peptide works too is also like a medication. You can super physiologically overdose somebody. Like a peptide, you're basically saying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all the raw materials to do your job, and so that you have the maximum potential, but you're not going to really super physiologically dose somebody.
Okay, but it would speed things up. This is basically what it does.
But it would definitely, would definitely allow the healing process to take place as though you were younger. Put it that way.
And how do you use them? Do you like inject them? Do you take them orally as a pill, or?
Well, they get destroyed in the gut, unfortunately. There are some, and they're getting better at formulating them for the gut. There are some that are okay to take for the gut, like BPC 157 is one that will repair leaky gut. So with all the issues we have with gut problems that cause autoimmune conditions, and all the ways that in the past they've been like, oh, you have leaky gut and all this, you can patch it up with BPC 157. So that one you can take orally because it's going right to the gut, right? Normally you have to inject these things in a small little insulin syringe. Feels like less than a mosquito bite. It's like what diabetics use. And the most common ones are the healing peptides.
But which one do you take?
I mean, I'm always rotating them. Like sometimes I'm not taking any. Sometimes I'm on, like right now I'm on a growth hormone one that's called tesamorelin. So it will help the body do a natural pulse of growth hormone. It's great. If anyone has ever modulated their growth hormone, sense of well-being, energy levels, better sleep, recover faster, leaner, build muscle easier, hair, skin.
Why don't we know more about these? You told me you've been using them for 14 years or something like that. Like
10 years.
For
10
me,
years.
I think 10 years. Okay, I heard probably last year, maybe beginning of this year, when I have firstly heard about them. Like, is there not enough science, or like?
Well, they're catching on. I mean, the problem is they've gotten beaten down by the FDA because they're essentially helping people not have to be on pharmaceutical drugs. I mean,
makes sense.
I mean, my fiance, she had a thyroid issue. She had like a thyroid, their body was attacking her thyroid. She had hyperthyroidism. They diagnosed her with Graves' disease. And with that, I told the story on Jay Campbell podcast, you probably saw, but they basically take out part of your thyroid because you're making too much thyroid. That is antiquated medicine, right? That is like barbaric. That's like Middle Ages type stuff. So I put her on an autoimmune protocol, worked with the doctor, and he's a guy in Beverly Hills. He didn't even know this stuff yet. But he said, I'll do the testing, the blood testing with
Mm.
it. And in 2.5 months, we totally reversed it, So
Mm.
it's, good chance that she wouldn't have her full thyroid right
Yeah.
now. They would have
Yeah.
done something with it. It's a dangerous condition. So, there's times when you can use them acutely for things like, when I tore my Achilles tendon working on a Nike commercial, like 5 years ago, I got home from surgery. I injected myself with BPC 157. That's like known for like repairing tendons
Mm.
and muscles and
Mm-hmm.
ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was running in 5 months, which is the fastest they'd ever seen anyone recover from that injury. The 6 months was the fastest. And that was a professional athlete. I was doing this at 45.
Wow.
And so these things are just incredible. You can, if you want to learn about them, I would, there's a peptide congress, a world peptide congress, Dr. Seeds runs. That's a really good,
Well, two questions about this.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you here.
Yeah, no problem.
What are I mean, it sounds amazing, and I heard like gut leaking issues, joint pain, ligaments and whatnot, healing, like thyroid issues. If my goal is just to get strong or build muscle, lean out, is there also something that falls under the
Yeah, I mean, what I would do, how old are you now?
31?
Okay, so you're still pretty young. I I I would say unless you have a like a circumstance where you've injured yourself, like maybe you feel like you've I have some sort of injury.
Mm.
Most of the time, when you get to be about 35, that's when the landscape starts shifting. That's when you stop making as many hormones. That's when all of a sudden the body starts to slow down, and that's when you'll start to notice things more. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. As you get in your 40s, it's already starting to happen.
Mm.
And you'll notice that with a lot of guys by the time some are earlier because they're so metabolically disrupted. Maybe they're just there's so much, they're living in a toxic environment, and like their endocrine system is just jacked. But you work out, you're in good shape, unless you've maybe had an injury. I would say wait till you're about 35, and I would start testing it's a good idea to test your levels now, your hormones now, because as you get to like 40, what you're going to want to do is roll your hormones back
Yeah.
bioidentically
Okay.
to
Yeah.
where you were
Okay.
when you felt great, right? So it's good to acquire a snapshot. But as you get a little older, there's ones for longevity that, there's ones for, skin, collagen production, wound healing. They're fascinating. I
This
mean,
one
for
is the one
now,
I researched. I think copper
yeah,
peptide,
copper
right?
peptide. Yeah. That one is great for skin and collagen
Is
production.
it true? Like I read somewhere that it's actually in beauty products, creams that you put on
Yeah.
skin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one can penetrate the
Okay.
skin. I like injecting it because you'll notice it pretty quickly. Like within 3 days, you can look at your skin and be like, "Oh wow."
What is the legal status of those? I mean, it sounds super amazing. If I said, okay, I want to get those, I want to use those, could I
Yeah.
go? Would I have to go to the doctor? Does the doctor even
Yeah, well,
give them out, or?
it's a state. Well, in the United States, it's state by state. So
Okay.
California is the most difficult. They don't let very many peptides in, so you have to use total black market peptides
Okay.
there.
Okay.
There are some good black market vendors. Limitless Life Nootropics is the one I've used. That one is, like I know the owner, I know people that have tested their products. I've used them to help people with things that were like, I can't go to a doctor, I can't get access to this. Like they just like, okay, well, I partially torn Achilles tendon. I helped a volleyball player like totally heal that with, and I'm like, I would do this. You don't want a full torn Achilles tendon. That's like the worst thing in the world. That's like the worst injury. There are plenty of doctors that can and know how to use these. They're out there. I can certainly direct anybody if they contact me, and you just have to know who to work with. And
Yeah.
they're usually
Yeah, as always.
functional medicine. It's not your normal, you're not going to use your insurance and your normal doctor for this. You're going to have to pay out of pocket. It's going to be through a functional medicine doctor or an integrated physician. You know, those are the people that treat the actual problem, not the symptom. Those are the, you know, the normal doctors are the sick care system. They treat the sick.
Yeah.
You know, so
True.
we're trying to prevent that. And, you know, but you can, you know, put together a nice peptide protocol that's really good for anti-aging as well, you know, because like for me at 50, I'm about to turn 50, it's like after like a really hard workout, I will use those healing peptides as soon, like when I get home, like just to kind of heal faster, right? Because and also kind of shore up the fact that we have micro tears all over the place. That's how you get injuries, is when you have micro tears that don't heal, right? So maybe the BP, like the healing peptides, would probably be the most appropriate for you right now to start with, to learn. And then as you get older, you can kind of grow into other ones. Like you would probably benefit from that, because I'm sure, you know, I'm sure you're not killing yourself in the gym anymore, like maybe like in the past, but you still probably have those days where you go pretty hard, right? Yeah. So
if I were an athlete, you work with athletes, right? Like I assume they're on the doping list, they're banned, or
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So you know, you can't use anything that's on the WADA, World Anti-Doping, you know, like so you know, athletes are very limited to what they can do. If you're not, you know, that's one of the beauties of not being an athlete and still being in great shape. I mean, obviously I'm not into performance enhancement for the sake of, to me, everything is about longevity and health span. Like nothing is designed for purely aesthetics at the cost of my life or something like that. You know, so, you know, the fact that I might inject myself with exosomes now once a month is to completely try to combat aging and slow down the rate at which I age, right? So, you know, I think exosomes are where peptides are going to be the new peptides. Like they're going to be the next thing, you know. So I'm already kind of moving on to some of the next stuff. Wow. But peptides are amazing. They're
where can I get more information about this? If so, that sounds, or I mean, obviously I know how to use Google, but is there like a specific site you would recommend
for learning
about peptides, just in general?
I mean, I think Campbell is a good resource. Okay. You know, he's really good. I think if someone just starts, that's a good one. They have a couple of books. I mean, I always have them sitting around. Let me see.
I mean, it sounds super promising, and
yeah.
I've actually read some. I think it was on Reddit or somewhere, like some crazy transformations again about skin and like coming from an injury, how fast it went with like being back on.
Yeah, I mean, I think people get really excited because they think it's this panacea. Like they get you really need to be doing a lot of stuff for your health, right? I mean, if you have like, let's say a problem, like that my girlfriend, or, you know, had that thyroid issue, miracle, they can work miracles. But if you're just trying to be optimal and you're trying to you need to be healthy. You need to be, you know, they work best on people that work out, that eat well, that sleep, you know, that are healthy. But a couple of books that are really good is this one is called like Peptide Protocols. This is by Dr. William Seeds. Excellent book.
I've heard that name somewhere. I probably came across while researching. Yeah.
But no, I mean, the guy's he's a rocket scientist, basically, a doctor. I mean, incredible. This is also a good one. This Peptide Handbook.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are I highly recommend these two books. You know, and then
thanks for that.
Yeah, and then I'll be putting out more. I've decided I'm going to kind of take a little bit more of a stronger push on those, because in my heart, I feel everyone should know how to use peptides. Everyone. And I don't advertise it, but I have a coaching package where I do 2 sessions. First session is, what are your goals? What can we do, use peptides to help you with? Like, what do you need? And then I tell you exactly what to buy, where to buy it, how to get a discount, everything you need, the needles, the mixing syringes, the everything. Then once everything arrives, we do a second Zoom meeting, and I literally teach you how to mix, dose appropriately, calculate, inject, full suite, store them, label everything.
Yeah, probably
So
better doing it with a professional instead of trying to mix and like, yeah,
well,
that doesn't sound like a good
yeah,
idea. Doing
yeah,
it
because
on
that's
your
the
own.
problem is these people will buy all these peptides and be like, and they don't have any confidence in
Mm,
mixing and doing. People don't even know how to do algebra and and I get it. They're nervous
mm,
and so
mm.
they can't do the math. But if someone's interested in that, they can reach out to me at
Is
Stephen.
it on your website or better through Instagram?
It that I think I made a video on YouTube that says
Okay,
if you're interested in that, whatever.
Stephen
But
McCain. Just search for that and you will find him. Yeah,
yeah, find me and then you can just send me on my website. Just
yeah.
contact me and say,
I,
hey,
I actually
I'm in.
no idea how it is here in Thailand. I also don't know in Europe. I've seen the one you mentioned before, Limitless,
Yeah.
something like that. In the United States, I have no idea how it is in Europe, whether you can get them or not. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I know guys, I learned them from a guy in Europe. It was this guy called himself Dr. X. This guy,
Dr. X.
yeah, he's kind of like, he was like me, like 10 years older or 15 years older. And it was way before I even heard about them in the US. And so I learned from him and started trying and doing this stuff. And then they caught on. And I never even spoke up about them because I thought no one's going to use these because no one's going to inject themselves. And now everyone doesn't have a problem injecting themselves for some reason. So, but I do think everyone should learn how to use them. I think they really are. They open up in your home the world of regenerative medicine. If you can get comfortable putting a tiny little insulin syringe in you, you can open up the world of regenerative medicine in your home. And that is
Where would you inject them
right
like,
in your, just like right here, like on your, like,
okay, so like someone who has
yeah,
diabetes.
a
Okay,
little bit of fat, just
okay,
a little,
yeah,
right in your, like, it's called sub-Q. It's like subcutaneous fat.
got it.
Yeah, you barely even feel it.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
I have two last questions before we wrap this
Okay.
up here. Curious to know what is your biggest accomplishment in life, and then what's next for you?
I mean, it's easy for me to say make an Olympic team
Yeah,
was
good.
probably,
Also,
but I also consider quitting drinking to be really high up there too, because it's so easy not to. It's so easy to drink, and I think that I had a problem as soon as I started drinking. I just didn't want to stop, and so I'm really happy I was able to put that down. Yeah.
cool.
What was the other question?
What's next for you? Where do you see yourself
Oh,
in 1 year, 5 years, whatever? Just like, what's next? What is something you want to accomplish in the future?
I definitely want to expand my. I mean, I'm always going to be learning stuff with health and I mean, I have a list of things that I'm into exploring, but for me personally, I want to expand my business with courses I'm working on, and eventually, pretty soon, I want to do a membership thing, or like a private community where
Mm,
I can talk a lot about this stuff and not worry about being filtered by search engine and things like that,
yeah,
because I might say something about a particular virus or something where and I can be very open, and I can help people in a way and build a community, and so I've got a couple of like projects in the works, but just trying to better help people learn how to live look, feel, and perform their best, and live a long, happy life full of
love it,
health, and you
love
know,
it.
yeah,
Awesome.
and meet people like you, and expand my network, and like be connected with like-minded individuals.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. That's also what I want to do, by the way. Like I love doing, I had no idea. I just set up a podcast like last year, and then I did some solo episodes. And now I actually like this, like connecting with you and then talking about these things. And I see, oh, you're having a very similar approach to diet and training, and like it hypes me up really. I find it really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's we're all in this together. And
Yeah.
I think, like it's really nice that you can be in Thailand, I can be here in Las Vegas, and we can have this meeting of the minds where we're like, man, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about, and share information. And I do have a plan to go to Thailand next. We were just in Tokyo with my buddies. They
Cool.
live, the Tap brothers. I think they're the ones who probably put an email out that got you noticing. I don't know, but they live in Bangkok, and so we're all gonna go. Me and another Olympic friend of mine who was Olympian, and we're going there to hang out in Thailand
I
with
think
those
you will
guys.
love it. It's a good life here. You will enjoy
Yeah,
it. And if you want to like go to like Phuket, Krabi, Koh Samui, have some good recommendations. If you decide to go somewhere else than just Bangkok, hit me up.
yeah. I will reach out to you for
All
sure.
right. Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, Steven, thanks a lot for doing this with me. I really, really appreciate you. Um, all the best. Hopefully we can stay in touch, text each other every now and then and see what's going on. Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
hopefully until
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate the time, and definitely don't be a stranger. And
I will
we'll
let you
get
know
you.
once it's up. And then
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. And we'll get you
perfect.
using peptides at some
I will
point
I will
here.
re- I will re- I'm gonna write down the books. I'm gonna research them and then I will let you know.
Yeah, we'll find a way for maybe it's not that difficult for Thailand. I know somebody who will know the answer if we can get them in Thailand. So I'll figure that out.
All right. Cool. Steven,
Cool,
thanks a lot.
buddy.
Have a great day and talk to you soon.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye bye.